Children are?
It's 10 p.m. Do you know where your children are?
It's 10 p.m. Do you know where your children are?
It's 10 p.m. Do you know where your children are?
It's 10 p.m. Do you know where your children are?
It's 10 p.m. Do you know where your children are?
It's 10 p.m. Do you know where your children are?
It's 10 p.m. Do you know where your children are?
All I need are some tasty waves, cool buzz, and I'm fine.
Man, how messed up is that? By the way, welcome back to the channel, everybody. I'm Graham, and I'm back with another video. Kind of one of these Gen X videos, but at the same time, maybe a generational video, because in a way that we're all kind of the same, even though we're raised a little bit differently. All these generations we're struggling through the same things, and there's a common theme with my videos. In case you haven't picked up on that, yeah, I roast some other generations just as they roast me. But at the end of the day, we all live in America currently in 2024, and it's hard for all of us. And it just got me thinking the other day. These PSAs that we had back in the 80s, maybe Gen X is the way that they are. Well, not maybe, we are. However, it's still a choice at the end of the day, right? We can choose to be mean. We can choose to be arrogant. We can choose to be bad or good, right? But these things definitely shaped us as children. And it's kind of one of those things when you look back on it, in order to get a PSA done, right? In order to have somebody, back then it was very expensive to film commercials and stuff like that. It wasn't as easy to do. You had to have mega equipment to do it. So it's one of those things where it's like, how bad did it have to be for them to create a public service announcement with Cyndi Lauper? I mean, a couple people party. I mean, these people that were doing the commercial were kind of crazy in their own right. I mean, Andy Warhol, Sammy Davis Jr., right, the GOAT. So they got these people to sit down and do that. So what had to have happened? I don't remember. Drop a comment below. Let me know. Maybe you're an older Gen Xer, and there was some shit that was going down in the country at the time. I believe those commercials started in the New York area, and then they kind of spread out. But how bad did it have to get for them to make a public service announcement asking parents if they know where their kids are at? So anyway, that's what the video is going to be about today. I've got a few classics, is what we would say when it comes to these public service announcements. All of these I do remember, and there's tons to go there. It's crazy, but I'm just going to share a few of my favorites with you. Now this one here. We did not have a Giant Eagle in Texas. We had Kroger and we had Albertsons, and then of course we had HEB. So Giant Eagle might be more familiar with you guys. I believe on the East Coast is where they're at, but check this one out.
A message for kids' sake from Giant Eagle.
Here you go, sweetie.
You know how important it is for your child to eat a healthy breakfast. You know that kids who eat well in the morning perform better in school. But breakfast time is even more beneficial if you're there to share it.
How about some company?
Breakfast is a good time to talk about last night's dreams and today's plans. Kids need more than good food to get going for the day. They need to know someone cares.
Food for thought from Giant Eagle.
So they literally made a public service announcement reminding parents to sit down and enjoy breakfast with their children, ask them about how their day went. I mean, I think maybe you would ask that at dinner the night before, kind of asking them how things are going. But I know from my mom's commented on my video before. My mom was around. She was, she worked her 8 to 5, came home when she was married, and cooked dinner for us. And then when we became teenagers, she started working as a correctional officer for the sheriff's department, started working graveyard shifts. But we were kind of already old enough to take care of ourselves at that time. So we didn't see her as much. I mean, she was always there. It's just she'd be sleeping during the day when we would be up. But it's just kind of funny that they had to literally make a public service announcement to let these parents know, hey, it's probably a good idea for you to sit down and talk with your kid. Now, notice one thing here in the video, which I'm sure it's obviously still done to some extent, depending on where you live. But the mom, this a little kid, right? It's a little kid. And that little kid just got kissed on the forehead and got pushed out the door to either walk to the corner to hop on the school bus to go to school or walk to school. No parental supervision, no concerns in the world. And maybe because of that, they then had to create this public service announcement. Maybe you'll remember this one.
Children to be polite and friendly, but have you taught them when not to be?
Hi there. Do you live around here?
Uh-huh.
You going to school?
Yes.
Well, I could give you a ride.
Last year, 50,000 children disappeared, many of them from nice, safe neighborhoods.
It's okay. Come on, help me.
Talk to your children about not talking to strangers, and do it today. A message for your child's safety from the American Medical Association.
Once again, think about how messed up that is, right? I mean, look, I loved walking to the school in the mornings, but I didn't walk by myself. If it was kind of, our schools were close to one another, I'd walk with my older brother. He was 3 years older than me, or is 3 years older than me, or I'd walk with friends. Cool thing is for a brief time when my mom moved us up to Nebraska, I am one of those kids or one of those adults that can say, when I was a kid, I used to have to walk 2 miles to school in snow up to my knees, because living in Lincoln, it gets snowy, and I did have to walk to school quite a bit in the snow and absolutely loved it. But they had to make a public service announcement reminding parents or to teach their kids, or it was made to kids, to don't get in a stranger's car. Because I do remember at that time there were people being abducted, kids being abducted. There still are, but it was blatantly done that way, to where they had to create a little reminder to our boomer parents, hey, teach your kids to not get inside some stranger's car. And then moving on to another one here, my favorite toys growing up. I still have my full collection. You can see it in one of my older videos. Maybe I'll pop up that thumbnail there for, I think it was my very first video that I ever put up on YouTube. But it's kind of a progression. You know, what this is going to go over still continues, unfortunately. And now it's even been made more known with all this shit going on in Hollywood right now. But you know, with parents not being around and things happening, stuff like this happened, and you literally had to have He-Man and She-Ra tell you how to deal with it.
I want to talk to you about something that's very personal, your body.
Remember, it's your body, and no one should touch you in a way that you feel is wrong.
I'll get anybody who tries it.
It's not that easy, Orko. It's hard for a young person to admit that he or she has been touched in a bad way.
If you've been touched that way, don't be ashamed. Tell someone you trust, like your parents, your doctor, your teacher, or counselor, or your minister or rabbi.
Right, Orko?
Right
on! Orko. So yeah, I'm not obviously going to elaborate on that. It is what it is. Unfortunately, it's one of the most horrific things that still go on to this day. But then stuff like that happening not only scars you for life, but it starts people or these kids down a pathway to where then they had to make other PSAs. So real quickly, if you're new here, I like to read a couple comments every video from prior videos. So this one is about the one that I did with Roth a couple weeks ago with the Gen X and Gen Zs talking. And I made a comment in the video that if you're a 35-year-old or something like that, you probably shouldn't be working at McDonald's. To clarify that a little bit more, if you are, I do at least commend that, because there are some people that think doing that's beneath them. But if they're trying to find a way to make ends meet or to make extra money, I understand that. But this individual has said, I would like to respond to your comment about McJobs being for high schoolers. If you've ever swung through McDonald's at 7 a.m. for a coffee and a sausage McMuffin, you don't buy it from a 16-year-old. None of these restaurants would be open until 4 p.m. I understand that. And my response was that typically your managers, when I worked there in 1990 as a 16-year-old, my managers were probably 21, 22, although they seemed a lot older, but in retrospect, they were probably just a few years older than me. Some of them going to school. And then you had a older manager that was the store manager. Now, not to say that those people don't make money. My mom had a friend that managed a Taco Bell in Ruidoso, New Mexico, and in the early 2000s, and was making $45,000 to $48,000 a year. I don't know what that is, but I'll put my handy inflation calculator number up there. That's pretty good money. But most of the people that are working at a McDonald's or a Taco Bell right now are not making that. So obviously you do have a bigwig that runs it, probably under the franchisee. And but the majority of the time, it is high schoolers, with the exception. First of all, I don't eat McDonald's. It's not good for you. It's really bad. So I'm not going to be rolling up at a McDonald's at 6:30 in the morning anyway. Although it's not good for you, I will say that the sausage McMuffins are actually tasty. They're just not good for you. And then let's see here. Moving on to an oldie but a goodie, a complete classic. And so it's one of those things that, as I mentioned before, in these public service announcements, these things kind of have this progression. So bad shit happens to you in your life. Your parents are never around. Your parents are going through their own shit as well. And then you end up having this happen. This is a complete classic.
It's yours?
No,
My mother said she found it in your closet.
I don't know. One of the guys must look.
Must have what?
Look, Dad, it's
Where
not.
did you get it?
Dad,
Answer me. Who taught you how to do this stuff?
You, all right? I learned it by watching you.
Parents who use drugs have children who use drugs.
Parents who use drugs have children that use drugs. I never experienced that. I did drugs all on my own. My mom was a straight shooter, clean-laced, law enforcement, just kind of like a preacher's kid. You know, I was pretty bad, right? But that one is definitely a classic that we kind of look back on and laugh at. But it did happen. It happened a lot. And so, again, I did know some kids whose parents were, partakers in that stuff. So, again, I don't know if they learned how to do it by watching their parents. Nowadays, I think kids just do it with their parents, right? Pretty messed up, right? So, if you remember this commercial, drop a comment below, and also drop a comment below on some other public service announcements that are not in this video, that you remember, that you specifically like the most. So going back to one more comment, this comment was for, I believe, the inflation video, cost of living video. And it says, it shouldn't be a crushing loss for Gen X. They were in perfect position when the housing market collapsed in 2005. They had the time and the conditions to set up a nest egg prior to recent conditions, unlike millennials. I don't agree with that. Technically, what this individual is saying is right. However, that is in a perfect scenario world. And being human, we all, boomers, Gen X, millennials, Gen Z, we have all made the same mistakes. So where were we positioned to do that? Yeah, I had a few homes that I had bought and sold and even had a rental or two by that time. However, blame society in the sense that marketing is always pushing, this is a starter home. If you go back and you watch any HGTV show, it's typically, they use the term a starter home. The one thing that I can say about boomers is if you've got grandparents that are in their 70s or 80s, they're most likely still living in the same home, most of them paid for, because they lived there for the last 30 years and didn't move out, because they didn't have people whispering in their ear on TV and on social media, oh, well, that house isn't good enough. That's just a starter home. And it's hard. I mean, if I would have stayed in the first home I would have been at, it would have been paid for 20 years ago, maybe even the second or the third one. But we always think, you go back to watch some of my other videos, that you always just think that we need more, bigger, and better. And so a lot of us were not positioned that way. Boomers, I've had comments where people seem to think that boomers have it together. There's videos out there right now where boomers, it's a roommate, a boomer mate or something like that, where boomers are having to get roommates. My mom didn't have to, but chose to move to South America to live in Ecuador, where she can take her Social Security and live like a queen, which she does. She has more in her savings right now than she ever did when she was living here. And she sure as shit wouldn't have that much if she was living here now on Social Security. So we all make the same mistakes. There are boomers, there are Gen Xers, millennials and Gen Z that are all going through the same thing. Now, where I say I agree with this is it is a lot harder to buy a home now. However, it's just as hard for me to buy a home as it is for you if you're a millennial or an older Gen Z. You have to have a shit ton of money saved up. The credit scores are changing all the time, where 700 used to be the top. Now I saw on my credit-wise, it's like 900 now. So they keep raising the bar to where 700, 750 was golden, and now it's kind of shit compared to a 900. But you know who has 900s? BlackRock and Vanguard. They're the only ones out there that probably have 900 credit scores, and that's why they're buying up all the property, and you will own nothing. So I'm going to go to this next video now. I would have to say that this is the one that messed me up the most as a kid. I remember seeing this. It's fucking trippy, man. It's just weird that some of the stuff that they put out there. It just, for whatever reason, however I was, it just really bugged me every time I saw this commercial. It was pretty messed up. Tell me what you think.
Doing drugs is like being on top of the world. Everyone says so. Everyone seems to be having one dandy old time. Hey, it's part of growing up. Or is it? Just think about this. Before you go and do something you've never done before, you just better know what you're jumping into.
See, to me, that's just messed up. Around that time, I think that came out. That's when Faces of Death was hitting VHS. So some of us had seen these people that had jumped off of buildings and, really see what happens to them. So I don't know. It just kind of wigged me out that her jumping into it, and you watch it all, and then she jumps in and you realize that the pool's empty. So, she broke her neck, her back, splattered her head all over the place. But hey, that was a commercial back then. Once again, about drugs. A lot of that going on, which kind of leads me to my last one here. This was a real ad, obviously, back in the day. But 2024, it's almost kind of funny because we used it as a way to get kids to not use drugs. Now I feel in 2024, this particular drug is promoted in songs, it's promoted in movies, it's promoted in TV shows. It's got its times of day, its days of the month, its days of the year. I just think it's absolutely ridiculous. But this is what they used to do to get you to not do it back in the 80s.
Doc, what's wrong with you? Tonsillitis? Appendicitis? Yes! Nobody's died of tonsillitis around here for a while. Appendicitis. Nothing to worry about. Scalpel?
What if the joint were in somebody else's hand, like your surgeon, your lawyer, or your local policeman? Would you still say marijuana is harmless?
No, let's see if I can still make a straight line.
Let's see if I can still make this straight cut. Crazy thing in 2024, your physician is probably smoking weed. Your lawyer's smoking weed. Your engineer's smoking weed. Your veterinarian's smoking weed. Your mechanic's smoking weed. Seems like everybody's smoking weed. But anyway, so if you've made it this far, thank you again. If you like the video, please hit that thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel. Hit that bell notification for being notified of my future videos. And please drop comments below of some of the PSAs that you remember. And again, just going back and looking at these, it's kind of crazy because a lot of shit had to have been happening back then for them to make these, for parents to be like, wake up, and take care of your kids. In a way, we grew up tougher for it. But then, my little closing argument is I wouldn't have wanted to raise my kid that way. And I know that, you know, millennials and Gen Zs are messed up a lot. Some of it is because of us, as I've said before in past videos, that a lot of you guys don't agree on. But the bottom line is I would have never, and I never did, let any of my children do any of those things because I had seen and heard what happened to other kids growing up in that time. So anyway, that's my story. Once again, thank you. Thank you for watching, and we will see you on the next video.